it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another supporters club. Apologies, people, it's been a bit of a wait in between these supporters clubs, but I did say that we want to expand the supporters club, bring in more voices, bring in more fans, bring in more Arsenal representation, and that's what we're trying to do today. Hopefully you enjoy. Let us know in the comment section below. Hit that like button as well, even if you don't enjoy, people. Let's get the video up to 1,000 likes. Make sure you subscribe, do all of that stuff, and remember, the feedback is important. So let me know in the comments how you see it, what you want to see, and if you want to take part 2, leave us your socials in the comment section as well. And let's get into it because we've been waiting a little while already. I've got Curtis and Chris to my left, as usual. What are you man saying? All good? Well, there you go. Not so good.
In general life, good. But
general life. We talk about general life first.
Thing.
General life first.
General life's good, man.
All good?
Yeah,
family well?
Family's
Kids well?
Man, yeah, good.
Chris?
Yeah, life's good, but the Arsenal.
Yeah, and that's what we're here about, the Arsenal, Chris. And let me start with you as always. Somewhat my co-host on this show. That's what people come to this show to see, you more than they want to see me or anyone else, Chris. You're an OG, Chris. You know, one of the most famous interviews in AFTV history. And we've been talking about the similarities to then and now in terms of the transfer window and the lack of it. But how are you feeling at this present time, first and foremost, as an Arsenal fan?
Frustration, Turkish, because at the moment, if you look at our team at the moment, it's chock full of quality. And these players, I think, will perform miracles to get us where we are. We're second in the league, we qualify. So basically, we just needed that little bit of help to get us over the line. Strengthen us a bit, yeah. And what I've seen in the January transfer window is something I've seen possibly for 60 years. With the only exception when we had Dean and Wenger together. And for them to sit and say to me and all the Arsenal fans, we can't find a player anywhere to strengthen this team, I'm not having it. And on top of that, the player they did go for, I mean, do me a favour, you ring up Aston Villa and offer 40 million for Ollie Watkins when you've sold Eddie for 30.
That's a good point.
It's just, and where's the replacement for Edu? Who we got of any gravitas in the club? So, hello, this is Jason A here. We're ringing up who?
I hear you, because I'm still asking who, Chris.
And here we are. What? Forget January. Wipe your mouth. Gone. But you've got to start thinking about the summer now. We're going to lose about 8 players this summer. And I still haven't got a director of football in the club. So you can tell I'm getting more angry as I speak. Yeah. Because I'm really frustrated.
We'll try and end it before you do completely flip the tables over and all of that. But you mentioned the last 60 years, Chris. You know, you've been supporting, watching, going to games a lot longer than I have. And you mentioned the Dean and Wenger period, which is the period I grew up on, which is the Arsenal I knew growing up. But you mentioned before and after. We're talking about after now. Is this the Arsenal way?
I'm afraid so. The famous war chest. I've seen that so many times.
What is it now? Unprecedented summer?
Yeah, that's the new one. So we just changed the terminology, but it's still the same old crap.
Yeah.
And it's so upsetting because we've got a wonderful team. They just need that. This summer just needed a little tweaking. And then look at what they did in the summer. They brought a goalkeeper who never plays. Raheem Sterling, the less said about him, the better. Mourinho, did we really need him? I like Calafiori, but it's 1 out of 4.
And then there's an argument even with him, though, when you look at how much game time he's got, Lewis Skelly, could the funds have been better used elsewhere?
So, you know.
Here we are.
Sorry.
Curtis, Chris mentioned, you know, we've got a great team that needs a few extra additions to get over the line. It's not the first time we've said that in the Emirates era.
The thing is, I think with January, we're all used to what happened. Like, when's the last time we ended a transfer window satisfied with what we got?
Probably only the Rice one.
And even that I wasn't really, because we bought Havertz. Yeah. We should have bought a striker. So the thing with me is, I was looking at the owners and thinking, we're going to get clarity by the end of this window. And I think we've got it. I feel like the owners showed that they're not desperate to win. The ambition's not there. And they've kind of just left us to see out the season. And I think the manager's got to take a little bit of the flack as well, because you've got to nail the opportunities when you've got money to spend. You saw with Klopp, he hasn't spent crazy money if you look throughout that team, but because he recruited the right way. Look at Gravenberch, for example, this season. One of the best midfielders in the league, 35 million. Marino cost 35 million. So when you compare the recruitment, you've got to spend the money right. But I just think, and even like you were saying, the offer for Watkins, if Watkins, and they offered him to us, it's not like we went there and said, they said, we got a PSR issue where you can take Watkins, 60 mil, and okay, we'll give you 40. And they, Saudi club turned up and took Duran. So I think they've left us in a situation where it feels almost impossible to win the league or the Champions League with that front line. So
we mentioned, a lot of people are mentioning, giving up on the season. I look at it a different way. I think they've got what they want, and that's Champions League football and Champions League money. And we've seen over the years under Arsene Wenger for how long it didn't become a problem that we wasn't winning the majors until we was out of that top 4 for a couple of years, and then that's when they really, made a move. Marty, let me bring you in now, Marty. We spoke about the Ollie Watkins bid. Aston Villa contacted us about Watkins and said he's available, 6 DMs will do it, and we go and offer 20 million less, literally 33% less than what they asked for a Premier League proven, and I put proven in quote marks because for me proven is 20 goal a year striker, but Watkins has been just shy of that. How do you see Arsenal's first business in January, or lack of business in January, and the way we failed in the last few days to bring in a quality striker in Watkins?
Hey, yeah, thanks for having us on. Nice to see you guys. Absolute pleasure. So, look, how do I see it? It was disappointing. The transfer window was hugely disappointing. Do I think that Ollie Watkins, even if we'd have given 60 million, is the guy? He's, 29 years old. He's too old. His conversion rate isn't as good as Havertz. And I just don't think he would, at the beginning of the season, I did fancy the Watkins transfer. But as the season's gone on, I don't. And I don't think he was going to be the guy that's going to change our fortunes.
Sorry to cut you, Marty,
That's
but
right.
and this is what supporters clubs about, it's about debate. Do you think that's you softening the blow? Because a lot of Arsenal fans do this time. Like you might be furious one day, you wake up the next morning and try to find the copium necessary to get past the failure yet again. Because you mentioned conversion rate and you mentioned these, and you're right. I mean, statistically, but Watkins is a striker and we don't have a striker.
I think there's plenty of other strikers out there on the market that we could have gone for. And we could have put down release clauses. But at the end of the day as well, what I do understand is it's not just as simple as going out and buying some random player. Because let's say, for example, we did, and this isn't me excusing us not buying anyone, but let's say, for example, we went and put down 60, 70 million quid. And we got someone that was worse than Havertz, and we got someone that was worse than Trossard, someone that was worse than Sterling. Then you certainly wouldn't be happy then and be like, what a waste of money. It's trying. I do agree with when they say profile of player. It does have to be the right player, because I do genuinely believe we are 2, maybe tops 3 players away from having an unbelievable team squad that can, on its day, put away any team. And when I look at this Arsenal team and the progression, I do genuinely feel like when we went into that Man City game, I didn't, years before, I feared games like that. I've genuinely sat there thinking, we're going to get properly turned over today, and we have done. But now when we go into games like that, I do look at this team and I think we can beat anyone on this day. Yeah, are we short up front? 100%. We all know that. We needed a reinforcement. We needed at least one player. That player wasn't bought, and it's a shame to see us going on the rest of the season, obviously with Martinelli now being out for 6 weeks, they say. But on a plus point, Saka coming back in, that he's ahead of schedule. All right, sorry. We're not allowed to talk about Saka.
No, we're allowed, but okay. I'm saying don't fall for the bait.
No. Okay. All right. Do I rather watching Ethan Nwaneri? What I'd really like to see now is Ethan Nwaneri's really got a run at this side. He is basically, there is no choice, there's no other choice but to play this lad. Now, the one thing I have seen with Arsenal this season is like they said about the Calafiori move. We bought Calafiori, those funds could have been appropriated in a certain way for another player, granted. But by Calafiori being injured, now Lewis Skelly's come through, and what a player he is. I love seeing these guys coming through from our academy, and that for me is what football's about. You know, this takes me back to, you know, the George Graham era of bringing players through, and I love that. I love seeing that. Miles Lewis Skelly, you know, Saka, and these are our boys. You know, these are Gooners. And what better players to have? Ethan Wanyeri, what a talent, and now he's got to be played. You know, and what a great opportunity is for him to really cement his place in the team and further the career. And when players do come back, then there's going to be a real headache for Arteta.
There's a couple of things I want to take from that, Chris. The word profile is being used a lot, and the right player, the right character. What do those words do for you? Marty says that, you know, that's the correct way to go about it. You know, to take less risk in the right players.
I don't think buying Ollie Watkins would be a risk. You know, he's a Premiership, he's a Premier League goal scoring striker. And we could have brought him in, and you could have left, because Havertz, let's get it right, we're going to run him into the ground between now and the end of the season. And remember, he's going to play for Germany as well. So you could. Yeah. I'm not saying he's the be all and end all, Ollie Watkins, but he's a body's help. You could rest Havertz, bring him in. And even if I bought him, it doesn't mean I'm not going to do anything next summer. I'm still going to go for a striker in the summer.
Have to.
Because Havertz ain't a striker.
And we already knew from Jesus in the first season, the injury problems and the lack of...
Well, Arteta did an amazing interview on Sky the other day. It blew my mind. He actually admitted we're going to go into this season with 19 outfield players. Now let's get, so these players have run through brick walls for us last season. They've done an international tournament, and you going to sit there and say, I'll tell you what, I think we'll get away with this. Mad. Oh no, you know, do me a favour, and then you're shocked at all these injuries.
To stick on you, Chris, for a sec, what do you make of him signing the contract then? Because a couple of weeks into the season, I made a deal of the lack of a contract extension, and I said, maybe Arteta wants to see how they manoeuvred in the transfer window and want to see how they moving forward. But he signed, he's one of the highest paid managers now. But then he comes in December and talks about, we all knew we was like going into the season. Surely that's unacceptable, Chris.
Well, it is. But see, the trouble with Arteta, he sort of backs it both meetings. Yeah. He gives out messages when you think, you know, he's having a little dig at the ball there. And then the next day you get interviewed, well, that's how we do things. You know, we're not going to just go out and buy a body. But yesterday he was moaning how small the squad was. Do you understand? He sort of contradicts himself. Well, I have to, mate, I'm not an Arteta out, man. I'll make that perfectly. I think he's done a wonderful job.
Yeah, listen, for me, you don't, especially this show, you don't have to say that because, this show I try and keep away from that football world of one extreme to the next extreme. You can criticise and not be Arteta out. You can praise and not be Arteta in. We are here for the Arsenal. That is the main topic, the main reason, the love we have is for the football club, not any individual around the football club. Curtis, unprecedented summer. What is an unprecedented summer? Since that is a noise coming out of, these journals in the nose or whoever they may be on the Twitter and online world. What is an unprecedented summer for you? Maybe put a value on that first.
It's got to be at least 200 million, in my opinion, because I think that's the biggest window we've had before the Havertz summer, right? That was 200.
Yeah.
And that didn't fix all our problems. I actually think we probably need more players now than we did 2 years ago. That's just the crazy thing about it. If you think Neto and Sterling are going to go back, Jorginho and Partey will probably go. Jesus will go once he's fit, and then Zinchenko, Tierney. We might need 6 or 7 players. We probably need 2 or 3 to go into the team. Because I think we need a left winger and a striker to start. I think we need another centre mid to start.
200 probably be nice.
Maybe 300, but I don't know if they can spend that much money with all this.
Well, the PSR stuff is coming out, and apparently we could have made a loss of 119 million over the 23-24 year. Which meant we could have gone and spent 100 mil in January and still been above the line in terms of PSR. Now, obviously, someone might throw in FFP or these other free letters that are coming in because people put letters together every day and just say, we've got to follow these letters today.
We can't do it, yeah.
But I think 300 mil is an unprecedented summer, especially a club that are looking to get over the line now. It's not a transition season next season, and essentially, well, I'm already looking ahead when there's still this season to play. But I want to ask you, is it an unprecedented summer for you, Chris? You've lived a lot longer than us in terms of transfer windows and watching Arsenal.
You need a backup goalkeeper. You might need 2 midfield players. You need a wide attacker, a striker. You're looking at 300 million.
Yeah.
But the big worry for me is, with me Kroenke head on, if Real Madrid ring up and offer us 180 million for Saliba, you know what I'm saying here?
I don't. You know
Can't
what?
see him paying that at the moment.
I think Real are in a different time. I think Real are more in the let's talk to him behind the scenes, let him run down his contract and get him for as either cheap as possible with a year left, or get him for free when his.
That's another worry, because if we're not showing ambition,
of course,
when we go negotiate these contracts, you know, you don't know what's in players' minds. You don't know what they're in Dubai. They're sitting around the pool. How do you know they're not saying like, oh, we've got a second in the league and they can't even go and buy us a bit of help? You don't know, do you?
No. Ryan, let me bring you in now. You know, we're talking about unprecedented transfer window in the summer, forgetting that there's still this season to be played, but I think it's really very relevant. And Matty, you know, talked about Hale End boys and George Graham era and that being part and parcel of what Arsenal are about. But I'll throw in that Ashley Cole was an Arsenal boy.
Yeah.
I felt Fabregas, as much as he came from Barca, he was an Arsenal boy. But Arsenal boys only go so far if you've got an ambition of winning major trophies. And we saw with them two players, two great players, two legends of the Premier League, that fall under other clubs, unfortunately. What it can lead to not investing, not improving, and not showing ambition. I mean, I won't call Van Persie an Arsenal boy because the little boy inside him said United. But at one point, I thought he was an Arsenal boy as well. But now we've got Saliba. Chris has mentioned the depth in the side. Saliba, Saka, Gabriel. Ben White, he's been out for a while. I'm a fan of Timber. Partey, I know, unfortunately, he's coming to an end now. Right, we've got an abundance of quality players now, but we've seen in the past what little ambition does. How do you foresee the way Arsenal moving now impacting us in the next window and the next window after that potentially?
So it's interesting that you've brought up Ashley Cole, because even though Mourinho tapped him up in 2006, that's when we moved to this Emirates Stadium. And they had a verbal agreement, isn't it? 60 grand a week. That was the whatever it was. When he got to the table, they said 55 grand. So out of principle, he left. I actually don't fault him for leaving. At the time, he was willing to stay, see out this project, because it's been a complete process since 2006, let's be honest. Yeah, I actually do think this club lacks serious ambition. And the fact that they actually sold it to the concrete in the end, that's really shown. Like, we can go back to... we had Henry and Adebayo. Adebayo actually he was better than we thought he would be. After, we had Eduardo. After that, Van Persie with all the injuries and whatnot, but we knew the guy was a world-class player. What he said, yes, we're hurt that he went to Manchester United. That still burns, you know? But at the same time, you could understand what he said. In principle, look, this club is not ambitious. Like, I need a squad around me. Now it's actually, was Giroud we signed as a replacement. Podolski didn't really count. Wasn't really out and out striker, but Giroud was not the guy for, to bag all these goals. He's good at what he does, and it's quite similar to Havertz now as well, because Havertz isn't an out and out striker. Why has this club since 2022, January, not addressed our striker problem? That is a serious issue. This is a professional football club. We've gone into the season without a striker over and over again. I can understand from a Kroenke point of view, they're probably thinking to themselves, you know what, Arteta has not spent the money. Well, this isn't me knocking Arteta. I'm just making a point here. They are a big problem. Don't get it wrong. Don't get twisted. The Kroenkes are a big problem. But when Arteta's had the money, he's made an experiment with Gabriel Jesus. He's wearing a number 9 shirt. Whatever anyone want to say, oh, he's not a striker. Yeah, well, he's wearing a number 9 shirt. Then he did the Kai Havertz one. That was the quickest transfer ever. People are forgetting that. Chelsea was so happy to get rid of Kai Havertz. They had all these players coming in. They're like, yeah, they bit our hand off. They're like, take it. We've never seen a quicker transfer. And our fans are not helping the situation with all these chants. I big up you for mentioning all this as well. 60 million down the drain. It's like, no, bro, it is 60 million down the drain. Like, we do need a striker. And what Chris said, and I really respect what he said with Ollie Watkins, yes, his conversion this season hasn't been, what it's been. We can compare it all we want, but he'd be coming into essentially what is a better team. Now, we've not addressed a lot of problems in our squad. We still are short. The problem with the striker has always been there, but our squad depth is a big problem. It was a big problem. People have been criticising me the whole time for saying, look, this is not sustainable. Robbie and Cecil drew me out, sporting away. I'm like, look, it's 5-1, but I'm telling you, this is not sustainable. And now we're seeing it. And I hate saying this, but I said this transfer window would be a disappointment as well, man. Yeah. And it's still hurting. Like, I grew up down the road, man, like literally between Tottenham and Arsenal. This is something I've been a fan since the beginning of the Wenger era. So what I've seen is a steady decline, but it's been severe since we've come into Emirates Stadium. We've become a complete process. And just to say with Arteta, I'm not necessarily saying Arteta in and Arteta out, but we have to ask these questions. If he doesn't get it over the line, I think it's a bit harsh at the same time, because you look at Jurgen Klopp with 97 points. He lost the league based on that. We lost this league on 2 points. People are going to talk about, the Aston Villa game and whatnot, but it's a whole season. Had we have addressed that striker problem, I genuinely think we would have won the league. I think, based on the 38 games, we would have won a league, or we would have at least won a trophy, man. Mm. I'm actually really concerned about the club's direction, because I feel last summer, we were talking about striker. We knew it. Non-football fans knew it, for God's sake. It was there, like, no striker, no out-and-out striker. I feel this club's didn't do the same in the summer. We might sell players, but they're all about balancing the books. So as you said, we can operate at a loss and still be okay. We're not addressing these problems.
On that then, I'm going to come back round to you pretty quickly, all five of you. 100% of blame, because I fear this is not the last time we're going to talk about this moving forward, because I fear that we haven't done enough to win a major trophy this season. So we're going to talk about this pretty, often leading up to the end of the season and throughout the transfer window. Curtis first. There's 100% of blame or responsibility attributed to where we are and, off the back of January and where we're going to the end of the season. Ownership and Mikel. I mean, what percentage do you put on the ownership? What percentage do you put on Mikel? And that same question is going to go around to everyone, by the way. Literally, percentage on ownership, percentage on Mikel.
For the whole season?
I'll go first. I'll say the responsibility, it's the whole season, and the responsibility of your club to win. Overall, I'm going to say it's the Kroenke's 85, 90% Kroenke, 10% Mikel.
For this season?
Just general.
Just in general?
Yeah.
I would probably say maybe like 70-30, because even though I don't rate the Kroenkes, but if Mikel would have spent the money better, Liverpool fans don't rate their owners, but Klopp spent the money right and they were successful. But ultimately, anything that happens has to be down to the owners. Like, they didn't hire a sporting director after Edu. Mm-hmm. They didn't sign anyone in January. They gave Arteta a massive contract without really achieving that much. So I'd go 70-30.
All right, Chris, we've got 90-10, 70-30.
I'll go 80-20, because when they sat down in August and decided to go into the season with 19 outfield players, he must have agreed to that, Arteta.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So
because then he signed his contract, which indicates
and
that.
And then it's a little. When we say the owners, do we mean Tim Lewis?
They're appointed by the owner, so yes, I put him in there.
That's where I am. So it's 80-20.
All right, so mixed bag over here: 90-10, 70-30, 80-20. Let's start with Dini over there on our left. Give a bit of reasoning behind it, but percentage of blame or responsibility on Kroenke, ownership, and Mikel.
As time was going on, I was thinking about it, and I was thinking, is it more of the owners? But then I want to put a lot of blame on Arteta as well, because he did say that these are the best owners he's worked with. So he will be defending them at the same time too. So if you're saying that these are the best owners you worked with, this, that and the other, tell me why the best owners you've worked with have left you short going into like what? Is it season 6 of Arteta or whatever it is?
5.
Season 5.
4 or 5, yeah.
4 or 5 seasons coming in now. Tell me why the best owners have left you short again. And one thing that is annoying, because it's not you that's annoying me, it's not Chris that's annoying me either. We've heard the same thing over and over again. We are so close. We are always so close. Tweaks 2 or 3 players away. How much longer are we going to be 2-3 players away for? That I can blame the owners for. But at the same time, Arteta needs to speak up. Because I'm also a coach at a grassroots football club, yeah? And I have the same, what's the word? I have the grace of my owners to do what I need to do. If I need something from them, I will speak to them. They will get me what I need. If they can't make it, then we will put boots on the ground to make sure that we can get what we need. So I understand why you say that it's like 85% the owners as well. But as a coach at the same time, you are the main mouthpiece of that football club. You get seen everywhere and this, that, and the other. So you have to take a lot of blame as well. And you said they are the best owners you worked with. Well, we are short again. And I said last season when I spoke to Frank and Laurie as well, he's got 18 months to win something. As far as I'm concerned, you've got 4 months left, mate. So he's got to do something.
Percentage?
So, 50-50, sorry.
50-50, yeah?
50-50.
Just to caveat that with, obviously, what you said about it.
Yeah.
My thing is, if the manager is failing, it's on the owners to
As
sort
well,
it out.
yes,
Hence
yes.
why more percentage always goes to the
that,
owners for
yeah.
me. But yeah, appreciate it. So we've got
that.
a very mixed bag. We've got a 50-50 now, Ryan.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I think 60-40, you know. Kroenke 60, Arteta 40. Remember, he's the one that got those 2 alleged strikers. We've been talking about it over and over again. This is his team. You know, he's done well. Look, I'm going to put this out there because everyone thinks I'm a complete Arteta out. He's done amazing. He's done amazing. Like, he's got, you know, the Gabriel Magalhaes was never meant to be this good on paper.
Ben
you know,
White.
from Lille. Yeah, done well. I didn't like the way Saliba was handled initially, but, you know, we've by Arteta.
Yeah.
But the back line, mate, even Ben White, you know, converted to right back. That was last season. We lost Timber, and he managed to, you know, get a decent job done. You know, so I'm not gonna completely blame Arteta, but I think it'd be intellectually dishonest to say, you know what, Arteta is blameless in this whole thing, or like less. I think 60-40. I think the Kroenke should have addressed the problems that happened. Remember, we got him in as a non-manager. People are forgetting that. He's going to naturally say, oh, this is the best, you know, it's the best owners he's worked with. There's employers, man. You expect people to badmouth their employers. I think he's got to take responsibility. He's got to take responsibility, man. He ain't done well when it's come down to it. You know, we should have won the league last season. If the season before, we knew we were short at the back. Saliba got injured. That's what happened. So I'd say 60% Kroenkes, because yes, ultimately they have to get the information around them. You know, Edu's gone now as well, so we ain't got a sporting director. They need to start sitting there and saying, you know what, is this the man? I think he's a decent manager, but you know, severe questions have to be asked. So 60% Kroenkes, 40% Arteta.
Okay, Marty?
Yeah, so for me, it's obviously down to Arteta and the recruitment team, sporting director, which we don't have at the moment, to identify targets and positions we need strengthening. And then it's down to the owners to appropriate and release the funds for those signings. And I'm glad, Ryan, you brought up Chelsea, because that's a really good example for me and how I look at this business. It's not just a case of going and ironing out £1 billion and you're guaranteed to win, because would I swap Arsenal's position for Chelsea's at the moment? No, I wouldn't. We're in a better position, even though we are threadbare. I get that. You know, we need, you know, reinforcements, but we've done incredibly well on what we've got on a shoestring. And you know, again, I wouldn't change that positioning with Chelsea's. And for me, they've wasted a lot of money, the owners and the managerial staff, which I'm glad we haven't. And that's only going to set us in good stead for the future. How much blame, you know, how do I see it percentage-wise? Well, obviously it's down to Arteta to set the team out and to set up a team and use the players that he's got to win. And try and get as many results, and it's down to the to the owners to give him the funds for the players. So it's for the way I see it, it's a 50-50 relationship in the way that they both need to, you know, how do I appropriate the percentage of who's culpable? For me, they need to work as a unit and they need to work together in tandem to get the result. And in this case, the result needed is to win some silverware. That's it. You know, with the 2 competitions that we're in, make the most of it. You know, Champions League, you know, we've done fantastic in the Champions League. When I watch this club playing in the Champions League, we play very well. Our football is very well suited to that style of football, if that makes sense. So, you know, I think it's down to them to work together, and I'd say 50-50 if I had to put a number on it.
Another 50-50 then. You and Deeney 50-50. Jack?
I'm probably about 50-50 as well. And I say that because the owners, yes, they could have invested more. Like, we don't have stadium debt anymore. You say PSR room, FFP room. They could have invested more, but these aren't football people. They're not Premier League people. Like, I don't think Stan Kroenke sat there in the summer and was like, we've only got 19 players. So he probably still doesn't know how many is on a football pitch. He's probably looking for like wide receivers and linebackers. So that's on Arteta. Like, he doesn't know who Mikel Moreno is when he's playing for Sociedad. He doesn't know who Kai Havertz was. They've said, we need 65 million for a striker. And they've said, yeah, that's fine. We're fine with that. Who do you want? And he said, Kai Havertz. Like, you forget Isak had what? 65 mil release clause at Sociedad? Wasn't a best use of funds, wasn't value for money for their release clause. So, yes, the owners could invest more, but they don't pick the players. They don't have a Scooby-Doo who all these players are around Europe. They just get asked for money, and when they give it, it's up to recruitment to spend it. Now, whether that's Arteta, who is, by the way, manager of this club, not first team coach, not head coach, manager. So whether that's on him, that's on recruitment. But they have given us money. What is it, 700 million? So the fact that that's gone 65 million on Havertz, like 30s on your Kiviors, your Morenos, like that's not necessarily on the owners. So that's where I look a little bit more at sort of whoever it is in charge. Now, we don't have a sporting director, so.
But you know, my argument against that would be that every manager makes mistakes, and it's up to the club to accommodate for that. Like, look at Liverpool, for example. Núñez was a mistake, but a year and a half, 2 years later, he is now a bit part player that's used for what he is, impact. Whereas a year and a half, 2 years later, we're still singing 60 million down the drain and all of this stuff, hoping for the best. Or in January, they picked up a 35 million Gakpo or a 70 million Diaz, who throughout this season have both played their part. Salah's been the guy, but then there are two signings that have come under the radar, have managed to play a part. So, or Man City. Man City have spent more than us since winning the treble. And I know people like, oh, look how much we spent since Arteta, or look how much we spent net spend and all. But City won a treble and have spent more than us since. Now, why are City where they are? Because you look at their recruitment and you probably say, Núñez didn't work out, Calvin Phillips didn't work out, Doku hasn't worked out, Savinho hasn't worked out. So even Pep Guardiola, if not the greatest, one of the greatest managers of all time, has made mistakes, but the club seem to accommodate. You can see Man City in January, Marmoush has come in, and they've made other inroads into other areas. And that's why I always push it more onto the ownership, because they dictate for me, how quickly, even going years back, Chelsea, when they signed Bakayoko, midfielder, much sought after, much value, didn't work out. A year later, you don't see him again, loaned out, and then, it's history and they move on. Arsenal just historically have failed to, even Xhaka, I know Xhaka ended with a great season and we'll all remember him for that, or want to remember him for that, but how many seasons did he have to get through being poor and not good enough before this club actually done something about it? None. Pepe, the same thing, waited till the contract to run out. So that's why I always lean it more towards ownership, because for me, if Curtis is Mikel and I'm Kroenke and I'm not happy with what he's done with the fund so far, why am I giving him a new contract?
I do better than Mikel,
This is just theory. This is just theory.
I felt offended then, man. Called me Mikel. Called me Pep or something, bro. You know what I mean?
Using this example is AFTV, innit?
And you just called yourself Kroenke,
which is even worse.
You know what I mean?
Which is even worse. But I wouldn't give you a new contract if I'm not happy or if I'm weary about certain signings. But yeah, that's my argument against that. About 50-50 freeways, and welcoming back Liv to the channel as well. Liv, which side are you leaning on, if any?
Look, it's really difficult to assign blame because we are never going to know the real inner workings of this club. People say, oh, we saw on All or Nothing that Arteta had a massive say in Aubameyang leaving and all that stuff. But look, that's a production, that's a TV show. It's a TV show. We cannot trust everything we've seen there. For me, I'd have to say, same as you, Turkish, 90-10, if not 95-5, honestly.
I'll match you on that.
These Kroenkes are American businessmen. Stan Kroenke himself came out, was it in 2016? I'm not sure, but he said, you don't do business ventures like this to win championships. I think that was his words. We are a cash cow to fund their NFL ventures. Now, there's only so much a manager can do when the people running the club are not here to win. They don't, just as Jack, he said most of the stuff I wanted to say, these lot have no clue. They have no idea. They don't know the rules of the game. They don't know the heritage of this club. We are here to fund their NFL ventures. And I think we've got the right manager and the wrong owners.
No, I'm with you on that. And the funny thing is, he puts his son into place, Chris, and then it's apparently a new direction, a new wave. It's be excited, but that's the easiest thing to do. If I'm evil, I put my son in. He ain't evil yet.
I don't think the son. I don't think Josh is naive of not knowing the rules of association football. I think he's more
privy to it all. Yeah. I'll agree with that.
But listen to all this. I tell you what. You know what? The big $60 million question to me is, why did our Edu leave? I want an answer to that, because we're all saying, oh, well, they was one big happy team, weren't they? That's what we was told, all pushing together. You had Arteta, Edu, Josh. So you're telling me one September morning you got up and thought, I'm leaving now, Alan. Nah, something happened.
Yeah, I agree, because they, even when Arteta signed the contract, I remember hearing mention of, the team, Edu and Kroenke and Timlin, Richard Garlick and all of this. And then 2 months later, it just... Dini, you said something about it's funny. Pick up the mic before.
No, the reason why it's funny, even with the Edo situation, because I remember I think news came out about it when we was facing Liverpool. It was either the day of or the day before or the day after. And I think it was mentioned that he wasn't even in the director's box. He was already on quote unquote holiday at that point. And then a week later or something like that, it was announced that he's leaving or this, that and the other. And it's very confusing, where it seems like a tightly knit team like that, and with someone who was actually seemed like directing us and signing players for us and this, that and the other, suddenly it's gone like that. Then I did see a report that apparently, but I don't know this because obviously I'm not a reporter, I don't know this, that and the other, but it was said that there was a concern with Edu that there was, Arteta was getting more power within Arsenal and this, that and the other.
And the contract indicates that.
And that too as well, so yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. I don't know about if Chris,
I've done. What would he go? I know why he went and not.
Do you think him being part of a legendary Arsenal team, his name being part of greatness under Arsenal, do you think that played a part? Because as much as Mikel has been part of Arsenal, he hasn't been part of a great Arsenal.
No, he's not.
Edu has come from that era that we all lean on here on these couches and say that is the standard. Do you think that played a part? He doesn't want his name attributed to the club when it looks like it's about to stop showing any ambition?
Possibly, yeah. But we'll never know.
No, until Edu comes here and sits down
unless we could get him on get him on a link now.
Yeah, he follows the page, so listen, he's not at the club no more, so maybe one day. Maybe one day.
I'm really interested to hear that.
But then there was that time in LA though, I don't know if you remember, I asked him, I said to him, yo, Mbappe. He goes to me, we got Martinelli. I said, Edu.
That's when he was talking about
Robbie too much.
I remember that.
Much, brother. But it is what it is.
He was working for the club then, though, so he had to, you know what I mean?
We haven't talked much about, and bearing in mind time now, what there is left of the season, because there is something left, I guess, depending on how much you hope on what is left. Curtis, is the title race on? I don't know how to frame it. We're 6 points behind.
Next season. Netflix. What was it? Evra said next season.
And that makes me sick, because Evra's always coming out with jabs, but his jabs are...
They're landing. You know what I mean?
They land.
Bro, this season we're looking for a minor miracle. And that's the crazy thing. And I said this the other day on a show. I said, as a fan, if your team doesn't win a trophy, but you feel they've done everything they can, sometimes you have to just deal with that. We're all sitting here going, you're not even signing players when we're desperate. It's not like we had a really good Man City have got Haaland, who's the best in the league, and they bought Mamouche just to add even more to it.
Took him,
yeah. Cause remember people say, oh, it's a different market. And, no profiles. You know what I mean? We're moving like Tinder, like, oh, nothing fits the profile and this, that, the other. You know what I mean? We could have named 4 or 5 strikers that we could have got in January that would have strengthened us. So unless we get a minor miracle, it's looking trophyless. I actually think we've got a better chance in the Champions League than the league, just because it's a cup competition. Madrid and City, one of them are going to be out. Bit of luck in the draw. I think Marty said it. The style of football actually suits us a little bit. It's a bit slower, less physical. Teams stand off us a little bit more. But realistically, it's I think we all know it's unlikely we're going to win any of those two.
Chris, wise man, you've seen it all. You've been there, done that. I mean, is there something? There is something left to play for. I'll keep on banging that. But are we going to get over the line?
don't assume though that we're going to come in the top 4, and we can all
he's
go
gone the other way. He says,
I thought he was going to say we can win it.
I'll tell you why. No, let me finish.
You're right. That's good. What happened there, man?
Don't assume, because I'll tell you something. We're one more injury away from another disaster.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
So, and we're only how many points are we away from the 4th place team? I think we're 7 as Chelsea.
Yeah.
So please don't assume.
We're as close to 4th as we are essentially.
So basically, if we don't get any more injuries, top 4, and we go possibly, we could do something in the Champions League, but Arteta will have to get his inner Jules Graham. He'll have to get the Jules Graham coaching manual just to get us all the way there.
Inner George Graham. Who else has done it? Inner Di Matteo. In a Tuchel, when they just pick up.
You know, just if you get Saka could come. I know you're going to laugh at me. Saka could come back in April. Yeah. Ethan could become get even better than what he is already. You never know.
That's what they're banking on.
Yeah, but basically, I'm looking at top 4, good run in Europe.
And see where we're at.
Yeah,
see where we're at. All right, let me go over to the panel. Is the how do I frame this to the panel? Are we ending the season with a major trophy, Marty?
It's possible. Look,
No.
Look,
Are we ending the season?
Have I got crystal ball? No. But if I'd have said to you, Turkish, on Friday, Plymouth Argyle are going to turn over Liverpool at the weekend, you would have turned around and said, Marty, you have finally lost the plot. This is enough for your positivity. What happened? They went there and got turned over.
Shall I tell you what I would have turned around and said to you?
Just quickly, don't forget, Liverpool have got Everton. These derby games, as we all know, don't always. And I know this is a lot of what ifs and stuff like that. Football's a funny thing, you know, and it's not always just because Liverpool at the moment are 6 points in front. It doesn't mean the season's over. It doesn't mean we can't go on and win it. There is a chance. Listen, don't forget as well, and this is not me slandering Liverpool, I respect them as a football club, but look what happened last season. They completely dropped off and fell away. No one remembers that. This can happen in football. Look at the Manchester City of this season. Okay, albeit they haven't got Rodri, who is a huge loss to them, and that's why I believe they are. People say it's not just one player that makes team. Well, that's why he won the Ballon d'Or. That's how good he is, and one player can change a team like that. But do I look at Arsenal this season and think we can win a major, either the Premier League or the Champions League? Yeah, it is possible. Like you just brought up about Roberto Di Matteo. Chelsea were 8th, I think, in the league when they won the Champions League. They'd won it before. I get all that. Can it happen? Yes, it can happen. The season's not over, and until it's mathematically done, it's not over. And yet we're short on players. We know that. You know, that's not going to change. We're not going to miraculously, unless they go and get some free transfer from someone from somewhere, or conjure something up. But let's see how these next few results. If Everton turn over Liverpool on Wednesday, you've got to start thinking, it could, things can start happening here, and see how we do in the Champions League. I'm not one of those people. I refuse to sit there and be like, oh, let's do it next season, because we're still very much in all competitions. And until we're not, then when the season's over,
there's no question then.
Who?
There's no question when we're out of it. I can't ask you, do you think we're going to win the league if the league's done?
It's not though.
No, I know, but do you think we're going to win the league?
Do I generally believe we can win one? Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do. I do genuinely believe we have a very strong chance with the Premier League. When I look at the Liverpool of last season, and I look what happened yesterday against Plymouth Argyle. This team can be beaten, and they're not just going to win every single game. I do like the Dubai trip where going away, regrouping.
Off the back of a FA Cup loss though?
No. It's not rewarding. It's not rewarding for failure, right? That's regrouping and the players and the team getting together.
Can I just say what that is?
Go on.
They're out there because they've got a deal.
100%. But
hence why that's a sponsor.
I understand that whole situation has become apparent because of sponsorship. I get that, but team building and a team being together and togetherness and spending that time together, getting out of the current situation, away from the press, away from the pressures that the Premier League and the Champions League provide, get into a different environment, training in different weather and being together. My experience of that in life and also seeing that in football is only a positive thing. Let's see, but if on Saturday we go to Leicester and get turned over by Leicester, that's the answer, and that's going to sort of forge. But if we go and it's game by game, You know, we've got to go and start getting results and start grinding out results and putting teams away. And yeah, can it happen? It can. I've seen it. I've seen it with teams before. You know, always believe, man.
Liv, let's get back to you as well. Are we going to end the season with a major?
Can I say like?
You can try to do. You can do what Marty done if you want.
Or do I have to be like yes or no?
You can juggle like Marty. Marty, chuck the balls and
No. Yeah. Sorry. Yes, we can. I think we can. Anything's possible. It's not over till the fat lady sings. We're not that far behind. Mathematically, it's possible. Liverpool could get injuries, slip in form. Anything can happen. You know, we could be out of the top 4. Anything could happen. Anything could happen. I think it's important to not completely lose our heads as if we're like, I mean, I feel like a lot of the fan base are freaking out a little bit more than they should be just because we're second, you know? We are fighting for a Champions League. We are in a title race still, just about, you know? So yeah, I think we need to, just as long as chaos doesn't ensue, it's just as long as, you know, I know we're saying about Arteta coming out and maybe contradicting himself, and I know he said that thing about the managers are the best in the world or whatever, but he might have felt that way at that point. Do I think he still thinks that? Probably not. But I also don't expect him to, you know, come to these press conferences and start throwing the owners under the bus, because that's signing his own termination and guaranteed chaos in the club. So if we can keep our heads, then I think, yeah, we absolutely have a chance.
Round it off there with Jack, because I haven't heard much from you. Sorry about that, but...
Can I bring the vibe down quite a lot?
That's right,
Yeah, look.
Ryan's waiting.
No, it's not a meltdown, but look, of course it's possible. Mathematically it's possible. It can happen. Liverpool could, like, Salah could have an injury. Obviously you don't wish an injury on anyone, but it could happen. Van Dijk could get suspended for 3 games. So anything can happen, but I genuinely believe that Arteta and the board together have basically abandoned the season. And look, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. As long as you have trust and you trust the process, then that's fine. Whether they deliver on that, I don't know. I genuinely believe they've seen Watkins, you can get him for 60 million. They've gone, well, that means that we'll have a 29-year-old striker who in 3 years will drop off and won't be worth anything. And it also means we can't sign Sesko or like our long-term target in the summer. So look, let's wait for a miracle, see if it happens, save our money. What did I say? Keep the powder dry? Is that what I said? Keep the powder dry?
That's the new one.
That's the new one. We'll keep monitoring and looking at all these players and whatever the phrases are. We'll keep this money, not throw that 60 million at an asset that's going to be worth nothing in 3 years. And then in the summer, have this unprecedented summer and go from there. So look, if you haven't got trust, then fine. You know, if they then don't deliver in the summer and we have another lone backup goalkeeper and we loan a winger and we get a free transfer at DM, then the trust is gone and that's when the process ends for me. But I'm choosing to believe that they've gambled the rest of the season on a brighter future. So my answer to your question is no, but hopefully for the better long term.
Lovely, Jack. Listen, I just want to thank the panel over there, the first Supporters Club panel. Big up Deanie, Ryan, Marty, Jack and Liv. I'm going to put the socials in the description below, people. Some have channels, some have social media profiles, some are doing other endeavours outside the football world. So make sure you go show them some love. Back to Curtis and Chris. I mean, we've discussed what we've needed to discuss. I don't think we've left anything unturned. We're good to go. We beating Leicester?
Yeah.
3-0. Famous last words. People. Chris, he's only available here on Supporters Club. Sometimes you'll see him here and there online. Curtis Shaw available every day, Curtis Shaw TV. Again, channel link in the description. Like I said, with the panel, we'll do the same with their socials. Show this video some love, hit the like button, people. Let's get to 1,000 likes. It's 47 minutes in. It should be on 1,000 now. Make sure you're subscribed, individual channels, show some love, profile, show some love. Love for the love. We're out. Peace.
Might lose some battles, but winning the war. I get knocked down, I get back up, get up and go, I stay ready for more. Go to the top till I level the score. Never gon' quit. Heard you seen some, but you never seen this. Bet on myself 8 times, no trick. Give me the loot. Word on my palm at the top of the game.